Hi, you're right there. Since you clicked on this video, I'm sure you are aware that films came out this year, and as a film enjoyer myself, I watched as many as I could, a wild 35 films to be exact. Some of them were very good, but some of them were not very good, so I've compiled a nice list for your viewing pleasure. I obviously haven't seen every film that came out this year, but I did my best. I'm not saying Past Lives in cinema, man, I'd look very lonely if I went to see that. This ranking is just my opinion, so please don't say mean things about me in the comments. Anyway, on to the list. My least favourite film I saw this year is, drumroll please, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I enjoyed the first Ant-Man film, so this film being bad really hurt me. I thought it was really boring, but it had some of the best CGI I've ever seen in a film. I had a fun time in the cinema, counting every bit of bad CGI I saw. Kang is a terrible villain. Fella is such a bad villain. He got mugged up by some ants. They really thought they could replace Thanos the Grape. You just can't do it. You cannot replace the boy. I have a fun story about this film, so grab a snack and get comfortable. Cineworld have this thing where they show new films early to people who have a Cineworld Plus membership, and as a privileged member of the working class, I also have a Cineworld Plus membership, so I stopped my brother from revising for his GCSEs, and I took him along to a mystery screening. This film was rated 15, and it was in the biggest screen they have, and the preview was right before Oppenheimer released, so we thought we were going to see Oppenheimer early. Boy were we wrong. Instead we watched a film called Joyride, which is literally just 95 minutes of some girls running around Japan saying some funnies that were in fact not funny. It's basically just a standard comedy film that everyone will forget about next year. You know I watched this film illegally. I know, I'm so edgy. Somebody on TikTok had literally uploaded the entire film in like 3-minute clips, which I watched in one sitting. It's probably not the best way to watch a film, but judging by its 1.2 rating on Letterboxd, this didn't really mess up my experience much. The film tries to be scary, but with a budget of £9.50 and a half-eaten Kit Kat, it failed completely. I reckon this film could have been banging, as it's an alright idea, but it's not even so bad it's good, which is what I expected. Maybe don't do this if any other characters become public domain in the future, please. The Super Mario Bros. Movie honestly had so much potential. Mario was my childhood, so I was very depressed for at least 3.5 weeks after I saw this. You know, if my mum doesn't like a film, you know it's bad. The film moves just way too quickly. The Mario world is actually really detailed and expansive, so the way this film just bounces between scenes, a lot of that magic was lost. I know it's probably just nostalgia talking, but damn it, I was excited for this film. Why did they rescue Luigi instead of Peach? Why do they barely use any original Mario music? Why does Seth Rogen voice the monkey? I'm so upset. One good thing about this film when I watched it was there was a million kids doing weird shit in my screening, so me and Mother got a good laugh out of that at least. I saw Totally Killer spike to the top of Letterboxd overnight, so I decided to give it a watch. While I was observing this film, I had this strange feeling that I'd seen it before. I hadn't, but that's just because it's painfully generic and plays like every modern slasher film. However, this time, there's a time travel plotline just randomly slapped onto the film. People are going to hate that I don't like this, so feel free to insult my film taste in the comments. I have no memory of watching this film. From the trailers, Blue Beetle looked like a modern Spy Kids film for some reason, but plot twist, it just turned out to be another generic superhero film. How far you have fallen, DC. It's not the deepest film to ever exist, but I was able to squeeze a bit of fun out of the action scenes because I'm easily entertained. The boredom did hit very hard in all the other scenes though. Also, the granny is gangster as shit. I have sad news. I didn't think much of Barbie. It felt so long and yet had some of the quickest pacing I've ever seen in a film. I didn't find it that funny, but that's probably because I was still in shell shock from seeing Oppenheimer 20 minutes earlier. The cast of this film all did a great job with one standout performance. But I feel like this film was a bit hollow and could have done a lot more with the message it was trying to push. I could tell after a few minutes I was not the target audience for this film, and I'm fine with that. Glad everyone else likes it though. And if you want a few good laughs, go to Barbie's Letterboxd page and filter by 1 star. Renfield, you're not funny, stop trying to be. Guys. What if we make a film about talking dogs, but get this, they swear? I'm not joking, but if you watch the trailer for this film, you get the exact same experience if you actually watch the film. All the good jokes are used in the trailer, and believe it or not, this film has a very basic plot. It's a very disposable film, but sometimes that's just what you want from a movie. The voice acting was great, but that's what you'd expect from Will Ferrell and Jamie Foxx leading. Looking back, I might have been a bit generous with my rating for this film, but I was actually excited to watch it when it came out. But I've just got one question. How did they make the dogs do that? Going into this film, all I wanted to see was some big robots, beat up some other big robots, and that's what I got. The action scenes are easily the best part, but literally every other scene is so forgettable. Surprise, the human characters are really boring, and are the worst part of the film. The day we get a Transformers film, with no human characters, is the day we get a good Transformers film. This film is a big step down from the Michael Bay films. While they weren't the best movies that's ever been made, they were entertaining at least, so bring the man back. The Flash is literally just nostalgia bait. The only reason it exists is to steal money from people who like the Michael Keaton Batman films, because God knows no one is watching this film for the Flash. Like the rest of DC's recent films, it offers some good action scenes which distract you from how mid the film's plot is. The plot fails at everything it tries to do because even it knows it shouldn't exist. This film also has some great CGI that really sets the standard for films to come. DC, please make a good film. Shazam! Fury of the Gods is the last of DC's terrible offerings this year. I enjoyed this film in the moment, but I'm not gonna lie, I forgot what happened almost instantly after the film had ended. I quite enjoyed the first Shazam film. It's an easy film to watch, but it's still a funny one nonetheless. But I feel like a lot of that magic was lost when they made the second film. It's not all that funny, and it almost feels like a parody of its predecessor, with some situations that are really dumb. To me, Shazam's arc was completed at the end of the first film, and this made Shazam 2 feel really unnecessary. The film's as generic as you'd expect, but it still has enough going on to keep you entertained in the moment. No, calm down. I have my reasons for not liking the Five Nights at Freddy's movie much. I know people that say that people who don't like this film aren't real fans, but trust me, I love FNAF. I've been waiting for this film for a painful 8 years. FNAF has actually got great lore, but this film just kind of cuts out what makes the lore so good, and we're left with a pretty bland horror film. To be honest, I didn't expect it to be that scary with a 15 age rating, but come on, it wasn't even a little bit spooky, just some jump scares every now and then. The scariest part of this film for me was the mob of people around me talking for the whole film. Also, that part where they team up with the animatronics annoyed me, but the memes were funny as fuck. I'm gonna say some nice things about the film now. Freddy and his crew look amazing, and Matthew Lillard's performance was also great. I'm guessing the main reason I didn't enjoy Scream 6 more is because I've only seen the first Scream film. Characters would just appear and I'd be like, ah yeah, Dave. I remember him from the last film. This definitely hurt my enjoyment of the film, as Scream 6 references loads of the other films, and those references would just fly over my head. Apart from all that, Scream 6 is a competent slasher film with some intense moments and good kills. The killer's reveal at the end was also pretty surprising and was a nice way to end the film. I'll most likely revisit this film in the future when I watch the other Scream films. Infinity Pool is just fancy camera work, the movie. Like seriously, people just be walking through a door frame and it's like the most cinematic shot you've ever seen. The camera donnies on this film need a raise. This film had a really interesting concept that pulled me in after it was explained, but like 2/3 into the film, it got pretty stale, and combining with that weird-ass ending, I was just lost. This film feels like the writer had found out films could have hidden meanings, but then forgot to put one in the film, and even if there was one, my bottom-set English ass would not be able to figure it out. You know, I feel like I've seen Elemental before. It's a kids film, what more do you want? It's got a good message and this film looks almost too good at some points. It's an enjoyable watch but left my mind almost instantly after I watched it. The best part of the film is easily Claude.
Save it for the wedding! Hey! Yo, yo, yo!
Asteroid City feels like someone who's not Wes Craven trying to make a Wes Craven film, and that's not to say it's bad, it's just to me the film feels weirdly empty. With a cast as strong as this one, the characters just feel weirdly inhuman. They don't seem like they're developing real relationships, more so just interacting. Of course the film's visually appealing and interesting, and that's where a lot of the enjoyment comes from. The story is also pretty good, but just doesn't come close to any of other Craven's films. Also, not enough Steve Carell. I watched Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on my brother's birthday. He didn't want to watch it with me because he's boring. The plot was really simple, but this put the focus on the characters, and they may just be turtles, but they're developed turtles. don't know, that sounds weird. I weren't laughing much at the humour, but it wasn't aimed at me because I'm ancient, but I can definitely see others finding it funny. The animation style is really unique, and meant even when not much was going on, the film still had my attention. Overall, a fun movie. Gets a ninja out with a turtle. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 had 2 problems for me. 1, they were afraid to let the characters die, and 2, why is it so damn long? I'm in the same boat as everyone else. I love the first 2 Guardian of the Galaxy films, and I think Marvel's been crap since Endgame, so to see them make a good film is a pleasant surprise. The funny talking raccoon might have the best and most sad backstory in all of the MCU, and it was nice to see all of the character arcs wrap up. It's just the scenes feel like they're dragging on for a bit too long. Also, the soundtrack is mid. When they announced this film, I thought, damn, this doesn't need to be made. And after watching it, I thought, damn, that didn't need to be made. Despite this, the film's an interesting look into Snow's backstory and the origin of the Hunger Games. I wasn't really a fan of them trying to humanise Snow since he's meant to be evil man with no sympathy, but they pulled it back by the film's end. There was a really boring part at the start of the 3rd act where the film turned into a romance film which ill gross. People kissing each other, get that out of here. Also, wasn't that much of a fan of Lucy Gray because she just wouldn't stop singing like no one actually cares, mate, shut up. The actual game felt a bit too short as well, with its ending feeling very, very cheap. Like the CGI budget for Ant-Man 3. I don't care what you think, I really like Cocaine Bear. While it's obviously not the deepest film that's come out this year, watching it in a packed cinema was loads of fun and really added to the experience. Half of the film was just characters waffling, and while I didn't care about most of them, they were still well written enough to be interesting. Especially Bob, he the GOAT. And then the second half of the film was just the bear scrapping all the characters. This film's dumb, but I don't care. It's a bear doing cocaine, what's not to love? Fella would fit right in if he went to a London club. I honestly didn't expect Dungeons & Dragons to be that good, but it surprised me. It's got great world building. I might have to ring up the CEO of Paramount and get him to make another Dungeons & Dragons film. I'm sure they'll do it for me. The funniest part was when one of the characters said Among Us. Me and my brother were cracking up at that, but a lot of the jokes landed. The film moved at a good pace apart from a slow bit in the second act. The film also managed to incorporate RPG aspects, such as spells being inconsistent. Imagine if this film came out when I was a whippersnapper. I would have loved it back then. What, they made a good Saw film? What? Honestly, the highlight for this film wasn't even the traps for me. It was how much depth they added to John and Amanda's characters. They were good already, but now they've been raised to an even higher level. The traps were good, however the brain one and the leg one annoyed me because they only lost because the acid was too slow. Also, the eye trap that the film's branding is based on is only in a dream sequence. That's kind of clapped. I watched all the Saw films leading up to the release of Saw X, which just made this film hit even harder for me. However, I have one thing to say. Please stop making Saw films! Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is a film I didn't think much of when I first saw it, but I've come round to it, even if there is no Humpty Dumpty in it. It's just a good film with a plot that's easy to get wrapped up in. While Puss in Boots and gang were already good characters, this film added so much more depth that brings them almost on par with the Green Giant himself, and the new characters feel like such a natural fit to the world, and they're great too. Even Small Dog, who I would punt across a field with no second thought. I like seeing cars go. The characters are plain with little to no development, but as previously stated, cars go. I am easily pleased, please don't judge me. I watched all of the Mission Impossible films in 5 days in preparation for this film, and made a video on it. After watching the sixth film, I'd kind of had enough of Tom Cruise jumping off things, but this film pulled me right back in. He does jump off a thing in this film, and while the film exists for that one scene, it still has a good plot that's too complicated for me to know what's going on, but just simple enough for me to have a good time. It's intense, but still leaves time for the occasional joke. I love it. My only problem is that it's a 2-parter, and I really want to know what happens next. I'm not even lying, if Godzilla wasn't in this film, it would still be great. The characters are the main focus, with such complex relationships that you see grow over a few years. Godzilla is just an extra treat here. It's a complex drama where the characters go scrap Godzilla every few years. I didn't know Godzilla could swim, which really upset me, because I really like the idea of him just walking along the seafloor. The fight scenes with Godzilla were strangely intense because you actually cared about what happened to the characters. The Godzilla theme went really hard and Godzilla had thick thighs, which was an amazing design choice. That ending's still whack though. Beau is Afraid is kind of split into 5 parts, with each part being a different setting. Each of these settings gets progressively worse, but they're all still good at best. The part in the city is some of the most interesting and anxiety-inducing shit I've ever seen in a film. Like, I was perfectly safe in the cinema, but I felt like the army of crackheads was going to come through the screen. I think the last part could have been cut out, which would have saved the runtime for me, because the last 45 minutes, I was kind of just wishing the film would end. Joker delivers a great performance, but I think we expected that from him. There's also a part where the art style completely changes, which was a nice change of pace, but probably also a bit unnecessary. Fun fact, me and David Bowie are best mates, so when I found out a concert film with unseen footage was releasing, I just had to be there. While not technically a film, it's on Letterboxd, so I'm counting it. I was sat under the speaker while Bowie played some tunes. I was well happy. This is the most read film that's ever been released. Wouldn't it surprise me if this fella made it? And get this, it's better than Taylor Swift's stupid film. Anyway, back to actual movies. John Wick 4 is exactly what you'd expect. 3 hours of some of the most creative action scenes you've ever seen in a film. The action scenes are always evolving, with the settings constantly changing, leading to the fight scenes never being boring. Like, if this film didn't end, I'd be okay with it. It's been a bit of a wait between John Wick 3 and 4 because he was busy in Fortnite, but it was well worth the wait. The ending was actually really sad. I didn't expect the funny action film to hit me that hard. Part of me loves the ending, but another part of me would love another John Wick film. So honestly, John Wick, do what you want to do. Except for one thing, stop using your suit as a shield. That's not how it works, mate. Wow, who would have thought I'd love a film with a bunch of old Donnies talking? Even with that, I was genuinely so invested in this film. During that countdown for the test scene, I was actually so nervous, and then when it actually went off, the whole cinema just went silent, which was something I didn't know people were capable of. I loved at the ending when they name dropped JFK like he was Thanos in a Marvel film. In my opinion, Oppenheimer is clear of Barbie. Fight me. I saw Across the Spider-Verse 3 times in cinema. I just couldn't get enough of it. This is the second best animated film that's ever been made, the first one being Into the Spider-Verse. You know what I'm going to say. Across the Spider-Verse has really nice animations, great characters, an amazing plot, blah 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 blah. It just got better with each watch because I got to sit back and scour the background for Easter eggs. This film also messed up my concept of time because I didn't know it was a 2-parter, so when it was nearly ended, I thought there was still an hour left. So I'll see you in 5 years when the 3rd film comes out. And my favourite film that released this year was Killers of the Flower Moon. Martin Scorsese is my favourite director of all time, so there's a little bit of bias there, but it's still a great film. It has a 206-minute runtime, and yet it didn't drag on, and there was never a wasted minute. Someone in front of me looked at the time on their phone, and I was genuinely shocked that it had only been 2 hours already. Watching this story unravel with all its different plot lines that all come together was really satisfying, and the way these characters evolved made them feel very real. My only complaint was that sometimes I didn't know what year the film was set in, but that happens in a lot of Scorsese films. I love Scorsese's cameo at the end, better than anything in No Way Home. It's not often a film can capture my interest like this, but I'm glad you could again, Marty. Well, there you have it. That's my ranking of every new film I saw this year. If you made it to the end of the video, honestly, go treat yourself to a bag of Quavers. You've earned it. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like and a subscribe because that'll make me very happy. And I know it's been a while since I've uploaded, but I promise I'm back now. Anyway, I'll see you in the next one.